Hello and welcome to my new video. This time I've selected 4 more or less recent publications about factors influencing soil organic carbon. All these publications are based on large datasets, large amounts of soil samples distributed over almost entire continents. So the efforts reported here have been quite substantial. The authors of the studies slightly differed in focus and used somewhat different methodologies, but it all comes down to the question, which factors are affecting the amount of carbon in the soil? Another question you might ask is, how can we increase the amount of carbon? Towards the end of this video, I will present you a fifth paper, which, from a more theoretical point of view, addresses precisely this point. First, let me give you a short introduction what soil organic carbon is and why it is important. I will talk about this topic in more detail in another occasion. Here I will give you only a brief introduction. In the soil, we have to distinguish between inorganic carbon and organic carbon. Inorganic carbon is everything connected to limestone. Organic carbon, which interests us here, is everything derived from organisms, from plant, animals, fungi, or bacteria. This biological material is prone to disintegrate, to react with oxygen and form carbon dioxide, which is then evaporating into the air. Disintegration happens only to a part of the material, however. The remaining part is disintegrating very slowly. It is somehow protected in the soil. How is this protection working? It's a complicated story differing from soil to soil. Soil minerals binding organic material and soil microorganisms digesting such material and integrating part of it into their own bodies are important parts of this. We are far from having a complete picture, however. Anyway, the amount of carbon accumulating in the soil depends on the balance of the processes depicted here, of input of biological material and protection of such material on the one hand versus disintegration of organic matter on the other. And why is this important? Two simple reasons. First, soil organic carbon is important for soil properties, for its ability to store water and nutrients. It is a crucial factor for everything we address as soil fertility. Second, apart from improving soil quality, soil organic carbon may also help against climate change. Or let's rather say, it's a factor connected to climate change. Croplands are considerably poorer in soil organic carbon than natural soils, and humans have liberated large amounts of soil carbon by creating croplands. When trying to revert still prevailing trends of decreasing amount of soil organic carbon, we may recapture a part of the carbon dioxide liberated by our ancestor. So there's every reason for increasing soil organic carbon, but how can we do this? Which factors are really driving the amount of organic carbon stored in the soil? Given the importance of such questions, scientists have invested considerable efforts for answering them, as you can see below. So, which factors are possibly important for the formation of soil organic carbon? Input might be an important point, right? The more biological material is supplied to the soil, the more carbon should be deposited in the soil. Another important point is the level of protection. Lifetime and level of organic material will increase with increasing protection. These points, however, cannot be addressed directly in experiments. What can be addressed are other things like soil management or soil type. As indicated by the arrows, both soil management as well as soil type may have impacts on input as well as on protection. So how important are they? Can we observe the impact in real-world experiments? The first study I'm introducing here has been published by De Rosa and colleagues and is based on topsoil carbon data from 22,000 locations spread all over Europe and the UK in the years 2009, 2015 and 2018. The authors looked in particular at changes of carbon contents in these years and at possible drivers. All in all, the authors detected a 0.75% decrease in topsoil organic carbon during the 9 years analyzed, with this decrease being particularly prominent in Northern and Central Europe. The main factor responsible for this decrease was a change in land use, the conversion of grasslands to croplands. Vice versa, the conversion of cropland into grassland was identified as an important possibility of increasing soil organic carbon. This conclusion, by the way, is in line with some older large-scale soil monitoring studies in Germany, which also showed a strong connection between land use and soil organic carbon. I will include citations to these data in the comments. While De Rosa and colleagues primarily looked at the impact of land use, the other authors presented here rather looked at the impact of soil types. Bramble and colleagues compared the ability of two different soil minerals, goethite and illite, to bind organic carbon during 5-year exposures in topsoils from 150 forest and 150 grassland stands spread all over Germany. They observed that the iron oxide goethite accumulated more soil organic carbon during these 5 years than the phyllosilicate illite. There was also an impact of land use, since accumulation decreased in the order from coniferous forest to deciduous forest and grasslands, but the impact of soil minerals was stronger. The authors also reported a certain impact of management, with thinning or harvesting, for example, decreasing soil organic carbon accumulation in forests. And outside of Europe, von Fromm et al. 2023 employed radiocarbon measurements to compare longevity of soil organic carbon in 18,257 sub-Saharan topsoil and subsoil samples spread over large parts of Africa. The samples were taken from 60 sites representing all relevant climate zones. In this case, the impact of soil type, in concert with climate conditions, was most prominent. Highly weathered soils from humid regions showed shortest lifespans, followed by moderately weathered soils from seasonal climate zones, and finally by soils from arid climate zones. A study of similar scope has been presented by Quesada and colleagues for the Amazon basin. Samples were taken from 147 primary forest sites representing 14 different soil orders. In this case, samples from 8 different depths in the soil were analyzed. Soil type was the main factor determining organic carbon content, while productivity, above ground biomass, or temperature, precipitation were of less importance. And what can we actually do with all these studies? How can we actually increase the amount of carbon in our soils? Teng Hu and colleagues compared modeled effects of various management regimes and came up with intermittent lay grasslands every 3 years as the most efficient solution for increasing soil organic carbon in croplands. So this might be one approach. I'm sure, however, there will be many more studies in this regard.